everybody, and welcome to Kansas City Oasis. I'm Nikki Actipis, and I will be your MC today. So we've got a really great lineup this morning. We have James Anderson as our music, Marge Long, our community moment, and our very own Julie Whistman as our featured speaker. So if you haven't ever been here, welcome. We love to have you. And if you've been here for a long time or a short time, welcome back. So with that, I will kick it right on over to James to play us some wonderful music and let him introduce himself to all of us.
Good morning, everybody. So my legal name is James, and that might be my name on my Zoom profile, but I actually go by Jamie. But either way, it's all good. It starts with the J and ends with the whatever. So I'm a musician from Kansas City, and I'm very happy to be here with you all this morning. So I'm gonna play a few tunes. Some of them you might recognize, some of them might just be improvisational. But either way, I appreciate everyone for letting me be here. So here we go. Song called "In My Life" by I think John Lennon and Paul McCartney, the Beatles. So,
Jamie,
sir,
I'm going to pop in real quick on your bass.
Do I need to turn it down?
Just like everything below like 300 hertz-ish. Just a skosh.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption, folks.
You're all right. We're doing things on the fly. And when you get a second, Jamie, if you want to like after your next song, if you want to pop in like your Venmo, your PayPal, whatever, so people can contribute to your beautiful music, that would be amazing.
I'll put it in the chat myself right now.
Thank you, JJ.
Yes, thank you all very much. How's my sound now, JJ?
Yeah, that's good. It's a little. It was just when it was on the bass notes, it would kind of distort just a wee bit.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yay, thank you so much. And if you just look around, all the people giving you lots of applause, even though they're muted. So just like imagine a roaring audience in your head. I will tell you, one of my rabbits was really digging it because he came over to see what was happening. So thank you so much, Jamie. We'll hear from you in a few minutes. Again, or yes, after our coffee break. So thank you very much.
Proud of me. Thank you.
And so right before we jump into our community moment, I just want to take a second to make some announcements. So here at Kansas City Oasis, we really like celebrating life events, whether that's anniversaries, personal growth, and birthdays. And so it looks like this week we have a plethora of birthdays. And please excuse me if I butcher anybody's last name. I'm working on my teacher skills on how to pronounce last names. So please bear with me. So it looks this week we have Doug Seark's birthday, Jeanette Hill, Daryl Ray, Brian Schrock, and I think that's all we have for this week. So if you see them or you're Facebook friends with them or you have their phone numbers, give them a text and say happy birthday. They would love to hear that. And hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much about the pronunciation of last names. So yeah, so if you ever have a birthday, anniversary, life event that you want to celebrate with your community, please reach out to me or any of the other board members or senior leadership, and we will make sure to get those on our announcement list. So up next, we have our community moment. Our community moment, if you are not familiar with, is somebody from our community who wants to share something they're really passionate about, maybe a trip they just took, or even a life event that they've had that they just want to elaborate more on and share with us, their community. So today we have Marge Long. They are going to be talking about PowerPoint presentations, which I'm really excited about. So Marge gave us 3 words to describe her, and they are daring, injury prone, and biker. And her warning label would be speaks before thinking. So I would like to welcome Marge up to the microphone to give us her lovely presentation about PowerPoints.
Thank you, Nikki. And Terry gave me the 3 words. I don't think I would have picked all but one of those.
They're good words.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to find out how other people think about you. So my presentation today is on how to make PowerPoints better, and how do I share screen. And here we go. So let me get this going. Okay, how to make PowerPoints more presentable. General rule of thumb is 1 slide per minute of presentation. You can add more slides in, but the majority of the people that I've seen that's added more slides in is skipping over a lot of them at the end of their presentation because they're running out of time to do them. So, and you know, of course, everybody loves the vacation ones. 50 vacation photos in 10 minutes does not necessarily work. Although this is not 50, this is 25, but you can see you don't get to see a lot of them when you're just flipping through them really fast, and no way can you talk about every single one of those in 10 minutes. Absolutely does not work. And the same goes for a regular, not necessarily a vacation photo, but a regular presentation. If you have 10 minutes to talk in and you have 25 slides, you're going to be skipping over that. People's not going to be catching everything that's on the slide. So the next thing is, don't write your whole presentation on the slide, bullet points only. The slide presentation is to emphasize what you're talking about. It's not for people to read what you're talking about. It's just the major points that you want them to get out of what you're talking about. And when you write the whole presentation on there, it looks something like this. People are going to be more interested in reading that or trying to read that than listening to what you're saying. The other thing is to use an easy to read font like Arial, Bookman, Old Style, Calibri, Century Gothic, Lucinda Sans, Verdana. Don't use the calligraphic type font like Brush Script, Bradley Hand, or Lucinda Calligraph. They look fancy, but they're extremely hard for people to read, especially if you're projecting it up on a computer or projector screen in front of a large audience. And on a side note on this, Verdana has, there's been a couple of studies that shows that Verdana is the most readable font on a computer screen. And if you read something in that font, you tend to remember it better than the other ones. And I didn't look up any of those studies, but if you want to, if you want to check into it, you can. So if you use the calligraphic type font, it's very hard to read, so don't do that. Use the Verdana font or a similar font that's easier to read, since the study shows that it is easier to read. The other thing is you want to consider where and how you're presenting the PowerPoint. If you're in a large room with the PowerPoint being projected on a projector screen, or if you're in a Zoom meeting sharing your computer screen, you want to consider those factors in how you display or organize your PowerPoint. This is the same one if you were on a if you're in a large room and your PowerPoint's being projected onto a projector screen and you have somebody 50 to 70 feet in the back trying to read it, this is what they're going to be seeing. It's not going to look the same as what it looks like on your computer screen. So you're going to want to make everything bigger so it's easily read. And if you're in a PowerPoint in a Zoom meeting and you don't, you need to take into consideration the difference on showing it on a computer screen in a Zoom meeting, because a lot of the Zoom meeting has the boxes on the right that shows the participants of the Zoom meeting. So you don't want your words to go all the way over to the right because they're going to be covered up by those boxes. So you want to take that, you want to take that into consideration and adjust your where you put your words at to accommodate any boxes that's in the way of your presentation on this computer screen. And I'm going to stop for a minute at this one and add something that Julie had mentioned when we were talking before we started. She does PowerPoints in Google Drive slides, and it's, I guess, a different format. So you may want to take a look at how that looks in a meeting and adjust for that. I've never done it, so I don't know how it looks, so I can't do a sample really fast this morning, but that is a consideration. It's got apparently a little different format than just a PowerPoint. So you may want to take a look at how that's showing on the screen and adjust it to make it more easily for the people that you're showing it to see. So to recap on this, bullet points, not entire story, use a readable font, make it big enough to see, and consider the location that you're showing the PowerPoint at. And one other thing I thought of this morning is I was running the Ethernet cable to my laptop, so none of this would get stopped in the middle over Wi-Fi, is to consider on the consider where, if you're doing it on your computer over the internet, hardwire your laptop or computer into your internet and not use Wi-Fi, because as we've seen plenty of times, Wi-Fi doesn't carry everything all the time, and you get stops and gaps going in it, which is very hard for both the presenter and the participants to see. So that was it. How did I do on the time?
You did excellent, Marge. That is awesome information to have. I know Lisa just put in the chat that it was great info, and I also really appreciate it as a new teacher this year who is going to be doing virtual teaching. So I don't overstimulate my kids / they can't read the slides because they're terrible looking slides. So I appreciate it. If you have a moment, like if anybody has questions for Marge and wants to come off mute, feel free to do that now. Or if you have any questions, put them in the chat for her. Because I'm volunteering you, Marge, to answer questions. I guess I should have asked first before I volunteered you. But yeah.
I'm great at asking questions or answering questions. I even answer questions with from people that don't even ask me the question.
No, and that's, look at me. I don't even have my camera on. I do the same thing. So we are one and the same. Well, thank you so much, Marge, for that. That was super, super informative. And I know I will be taking parts of that into my teaching career this fall. And with that, here's my lovely plug. If you would like to do a community moment on anything and everything, please reach out to Mark Dixon or anybody on the leadership team, and we can get you set up. We would love to hear about your life or a fun skill that you have, or maybe just something that you need to, that you have an axe to grind about, but like PG level axe to grind. Please reach out to one of us, or more specifically, Mark Dixon. So with that, I'm going to release all of you into breakout rooms where you can, take a bio break, chat with some random community members, since these are random breakout rooms, and just discuss what Marge has talked about today, or, talk about our lovely music that we've had so far. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie, and see you back here in 10 minutes.
And let's remember, anybody that stays in the main room, that you will be on the Facebook live stream with your commentary, which isn't okay, but just be aware of that.
I really want that cup of coffee.
I made myself some in the, it's cute, isn't it? Yeah, I threw that slide together. So I put in my Oasis cup, I put iced coffee and some things. We'll see how this all goes. And I also edited my PowerPoint presentation while Marge was talking. So
you're just like, ooh, I'm about to get judged real hard.
Yeah, this is gonna be a real. Yeah, I cut out like half of all the words on it, so now it has like 3 words per slide. It's minimalist, maybe the wrong way now, but there are also no pictures, so.
That's fine. You just put big exciting words on it.
Yeah,
I remember in college, I took a animal intelligence seminar class where we had to, like, our project for the semester was to write like a mini thesis about like a specific aspect of animal intelligence. And then also we had to teach a class for an hour and a half.
Uh-huh.
And I was glad to go in the middle of the semester, because the professor just ripped to shreds everybody's PowerPoint that just like had too many words or like was too busy. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh no, that could be me.
Yeah. I was in the school of too many. Well, because before, I it feels like when we went to it at the block school that they made us, that we all had to take any more in your like speech classes. A lot of it is on PowerPoint formatting and stuff like that. But I still forget. I mean, but then however many years later, then I have to do something for work and I still forget. So
I mean, it is what it is. And like,
yeah,
different things reach different audiences. So sometimes like if you're on a slide for a long time, I think it's okay to have like you
Yeah,
know, a
that's how this is
paragraph
gonna
or
go.
whatever.
There's a lot of talkie per slide. I do not have 1 slide per minute. I have they're up for a while.
I don't know whoever was able to do 1 slide a minute. Like, if I'm gonna make a slide, I'm gonna make it count.
Yeah, I'm not, well, because the other thing is I'm not coordinated enough to keep remembering to, that was the other thing about that. Yeah, when you have to do the clicker, like in front of a group of people where you're standing up and you are like, oh, hang on, yeah, my slide. Oh, I forgot to move my slide, and I've already started talking about the other stuff because I can see it on my screen, you know, what's next, and I just keep going. But yeah,
That's like,
it's very helpful.
that's a super talent though, to be able to like
Yeah.
time up what you're saying with your slides, like when you're clicking through, because I know I still do that after all of these years. And it's like, well, you don't want to interrupt your flow.
Yeah, right, to make sure your slide's on the right page.
I need to know if the cats are still fighting.
No, I put them, I separated them because because I'm like, am I going to hedge that bet that they're going to behave? Probably not.
Well, has Barry sung you the "Where Are You" song of his people?
Oh, well, my cat does that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
He,
so that's not anything new. Yeah, this morning, well, see, we eat breakfast at 6. And by we, I mean they. I don't do anything at 6 besides feed cats breakfast. And that the problem with that, what had happened was our last cat was diabetic, and so the cat that passed away, you know, so he ate on a really regimented schedule, and so then Mr. Baby got used to there only being food at 6 and 6 because that's what we needed to do for the other cat. So now every morning at 6, I am reminded, if I am not awake, that it is breakfast time.
well, he would have done that anyways, because that's what cats do. Is they're just like, excuse me, human, you got up once at 4:30 in the morning to feed me, and you gave me a snack. It's time for dinner. And he's like, what?
Yeah, for the rest of forever, right?
Well, that's what the rabbits are like. And so I think I told you this. I know I've told a few people this lately because I don't know how to stop this behavior. As an animal behavioralist, I have no clue how to stop this. So surprise everybody, I'm really bad at my job. So the rabbits have recently taken up getting onto the bed and like trying to take my pillows away when I'm sleeping. And it's like 6 a.m. So I don't know what to do about that, but they've been ramping it up. So this morning I felt little pitter patters coming up onto the bed, and then one of them just full force jumped on my face, and I was just like, what's happening? And of course I woke up, and so now they think it's a triumph. They're just like, oh, it worked, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen tomorrow and be like, I am sending you to rabbit boarding school.
That's funny. Oh yeah, they're all just delights, aren't they? They keep us, well, you know, that being said, it's especially right now, it's nice to have a live thing here besides me, so that when I talk to myself, I can just act like I'm talking to a cat, and then it seems a little less sad.
Well, at least like, so you have a house, or like you're in a house. I feel really weird because I talk to all 6 of these fools all the time. And now that I have like new neighbors, they probably hear me like having arguments with them, like,
oh, how funny, yeah, like
loud domestic disputes. And then like downstairs,
it's time for a roommate meeting. Everybody circle up.
Yeah. Or they'll hear me say, no, don't do that. Or like, I'm a terrible pet parent. So like when the guinea pigs are like some of the happiest animals in the world. Like they will sing for there's like, wee, we're so excited. And like, I'm the terrible person because I'll start mocking them. I'll be like, what are you weeing about? Wee. What are you, French? And I'm like, oh, Nikki, why are you being mean to them? Stop it.
That is pretty funny. Oh, I just wrote myself a note of something I was supposed to do on Friday and didn't do. Saw that, so that's good.
Obviously, the note worked.
Now I'll draw a little box around it and put a star next to it, and maybe that will spark some sort of something. Probably not.
Stop it, that's mine.
Oh, I don't think Sarah's on this morning. We announced about her grandma last week, but
yeah,
I went to the funeral, it wasn't. I mean, it was more of a visitation than anything yesterday. So
is she doing all right?
yeah, I mean, it was, the grandmother was 92, and I think she had been in good health, but I think it just was really hard, took a toll on her that people couldn't come, she was in a care center and people couldn't come visit. And so I think a lot of it was, being sad can do a lot of physical things, of course. So
yeah, people, I mean,
well, that's like my first slide. My first slide is all about that, actually. The importance of people and, things. So
yeah, and there's scientific evidence of people can die of broken hearts. Like there is broken heart syndrome.
Nikki, spoilers. That's that's the first part of my thing. Not necessarily the die of broken hearts, but
well, you know what? It's a preview. We're doing a preview right now.
Everyone that's come in on the coffee break.
We've got quite a few people hanging out in the main room today. Listening or not listening to us, which is fine.
You see me waving at you.
I for sure mutilated all of those last names, and like, what does that say for in 2 weeks when I have students who are teenagers and gonna roll their eyes at me virtually?
Yeah. Right. Maybe you just just like I do when we have a guest that I when we have a guest here at Oasis that I in no way, shape, or form know, I just straight up, like, the very first thing is, hey, can you say your name for me? So I make sure that I know it, as opposed to I don't even try, because I know it's gonna be wrong. I'm like, I want to hear how you say it. I want to hear how you say it. Then I will say it like that.
Yeah, and that's just the polite, correct thing to do anyways.
Actually, Nikki, I feel like that is the first conversation we ever had.
Was
I emceed for you at the Athenaeum.
Okay, yeah.
I honestly think that might be the first conversation we had. I went up to you and said, "Hey, I'm Julie. I'm the MC today. Can you say your name?" Thank you.
Yeah, because you're just like, I wanted to MC for you about fish, and I'm just like,
I did.
Cool.
Well, and that was the day that, because I had taken that environmental science class where we wandered around and run off and found all kinds of things.
Well, that made me feel really like I didn't mean to be like, that sounded like sarcastic, but I actually like I have to.
I did want to MC about fish.
No, like because that made me feel included, which I really appreciated, because at the time I was relatively new to being in KC full time, and I was like, I come here and I want friends, but also like I'm really shy and awkward, and I don't know how to communicate with people.
Well, I'm really gregarious and awkward, so
It's good. That's why we make a good team.
That's right. Oh gosh, I need to pay attention to the time. What time we got here? 11:35.
It's okay.
Okay.
We've got plenty of time because
you tell me when. Yeah, I don't know how long mine's gonna go either.
Whenever you are ready. Wait, we have a song and then you, right?
Yeah. So we'll probably find out from. Well, James, I think, went to a breakout room.
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie went to a breakout room, so.
Well, that's perfect, because sometimes I forget. I'm just like, because time is irrelevant nowadays. I'm like, do we have another song? Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Everything's wild, Julie.
You're telling me.
Just like when I realized there was only one Julia and 12 Julies in Oasis.
Oh yeah.
That confused me for the longest time.
Yeah, she's on the team though. I mean, get that close, you get grandfathered in. It's fine.
It wasn't fair of any of you.
You can take it up with my parents. They might talk to you, so you can take it up. I know, that was not good. This is on Facebook now.
Remember when you specifically said to keep the smile?
I know, that was not good. That was not good. I did not lead by example in that moment. I apologize.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Okay, time to mute Julie's microphone, and coffee has clearly kicked in because.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever.
Okay, I'm gonna close it. It'll send the message that says 1 minute.
You have 6. Did you know you can extend those? Because I've been in work meetings all week, and they give us 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, actually. It must be in settings somewhere. I haven't dug in that far, I don't think.
I don't know why they give us 2 minutes, because it's not like we use the 2 minutes.
No, you just stare at each other and leave anyway, kind of.
Yeah.
That's what we
And then people are like, oh, my internet connection. And then they just go, they leave.
They disappear off the face of the earth, yeah. Okay.
Oh, they're coming back fast. I think we're waiting on 3 more. Oh, good. My background is still something appropriate. I fear that every day I log into, like, for work. Anyways. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that you had a great coffee break. So now we're going to hear again from our musical guest. I was going to say musical speaker, but that makes no sense. Musical guest, Jamie Anderson. So Jamie, if you would like to take it away.
Thank you very much. It's an old jazz standard called Misty. Thank you all very much.
Thank you once again, Jamie. And if you feel so inclined, anybody, JJ has posted his Venmo and PayPal into the account. So if you into the chat. So if you would like to, put a couple dollars in his tip jar, I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
So next up, we have our very own, yes, that's a sentence, our very own Julie Whistman. I thought about it for a second, what I was going to make up for your bio, Julie. Julie is part of our board of directors and our treasurer, and they also work for Zoom, so they know all the things about Zoom. If you have any questions ever, ask Julie. So without further ado, I will let Julie actually tell you all about her and what she's going to be talking about today. So take it over, Julie.
All right. So all about me. So I feel like the majority of everyone that I see on with us this morning has met me for the most part, unless I see some, well, maybe a couple people haven't. If you have met me, you know that one of my favorite things in the world is hugs, consensual hugs. So I'm feeling really hug deprived. Nikki kind of helped me solve this problem by granting me the gift of a new kitten recently. So right now I am sporting, and I don't know that I can get the camera close enough, a slew of new baby teeth and scratch marks on my arm. So that is a little new fact about me that some of you that know me for a while may not know. As Nikki said, it's my privilege to serve on the board of Kansas City Oasis. I've been part of Oasis for about 4 years, and also, so that includes the Oasis Network, which I'll talk about just very briefly. So if you're new and don't know, Oasis here in Kansas City is part of a larger group. We strive to set the example and then also help new communities get on their feet and formed all over the US and Canada. I know there's quite a few groups that are in the germination phase across the country, and we have also a board member for the Oasis Network, Clay Bollinger, that's part of our community here in Kansas City. This presentation that I'm going to give this morning is going to be not a lot of news to us that have been around for a long time, but it's a presentation I gave when North Orlando Oasis had their first meeting. And it talks about the importance of building a meaningful community, kind of share some tips of what we've done here in Kansas City. But it's always good for us, I think, to reflect on why we're here and what keeps us coming back. So it's going to be some practical tips. And maybe I don't know that I'm going to use my PowerPoint presentation, because after Marge's super good explanation of how they should be done, mine's pretty sad. We'll see. I might switch to it here in a minute. When we think about strengthening our relationships as people and as a community, we really need to be, I think, very thoughtful about the actions that we can take anytime we meet. And right now, of course, that's all virtually, because we're living, in unprecedented times, unprecedented circumstances in our lifetime anyway. So the forms that our community is taking is not anything that anybody predicted a few months ago. Our lives in general are not recognizable compared to, say, mid-March. before this all happened. And the challenges of virtual meetings when we're trying to build new relationships, it's really hard to understate that. For those of us that have been around for a while, you know, this kind of helps us keep connected. But for new people that are coming in, we understand it can be difficult. So things like our breakout rooms on a Sunday morning, you know, we feel are really beneficial to try and sort of get our hands around new people, let us get to know each other maybe on a more one-to-one basis than we've had the time to do, because we can't meet in person. However, that being said, Zoom and other video conferencing tools, FaceTime, phone calls, all those things are ways that we can stay connected and build these new relationships. Because the gift that we do have right now is the gift of time. A lot of us have quite a bit of time on our hands. We can use that to stay connected and to then also do some serious reflection on the things that really matter to us. And then hopefully that will lead us to a place where we give a little more thought to where we spend our time and energy after stay-at-home orders and quarantines are lifted. Once we have a vaccine and we don't have to wear masks anymore, maybe that will get us to a place where we think about with real intention what we want our lives and our community to look like after the fact. In the past, there's probably many of us in humanity in general that sort of have a ready-made sense of community. And that might be the family that we were born into, or maybe the people from our hometown that we grew up with, or say the folks we met in high school or when we went to university. Those people become sort of our built-in community. And for others of us, maybe it was the religion we were raised in. If that was the case for me as I was growing up, that gave me my sense of belonging and community. However, as we've evolved as individuals and the society in general has sort of evolved where some of those standard ready-made communities that we were born into might not fit our needs anymore. Or maybe they are not welcoming to us as they once were. Maybe we've changed and we've evolved and some other folks have stayed in a different place and it's not as comfortable and we just don't feel as welcome as we once did there. So we find a place like Kansas City Oasis or another Oasis community, and we work on building something new for ourselves in our personal lives, and then also building something for those around us. So with that, I think I'll start my PowerPoint, maybe. Sorry, Marge, apologies. All right, from the get-go. Okay, why am I here? So for the philosophers among us, you might think of this as an existential question. That's not really what I mean in this instance, but you know, you can use it that way if you want to. But in this modern world, people have moved both physically and philosophically away from their communities of birth. And many researchers and medical professionals have seen this lead to an epidemic, as they describe it, of loneliness. People move to a new location and, you know, for work or for whatever reason, and don't know a single person. That was sort of the circumstances I found myself in about 15 years ago, that I just really, besides a few people from work, I just didn't know anybody. And there's really statistics that go around this. The U.S. Health Resources and Services Administration give us this statistic: 2 in 5 Americans report that they sometimes or always feel that their social relationships are not meaningful. And 1 in 5 say they feel lonely or socially isolated. And I have a feeling that if we ran this same study again, that would be even higher, that people are feeling even more isolated, even more lonely now than they have maybe any time in their life. And so, you know, while we have social distancing, it's important to prevent the spread of the virus. We all believe in science here. Our reality is known through reason. It exacerbates the problems for those that are socially isolated. And we think about, oh, I don't know, me. So I'm one of the 35, almost 36 million Americans that live by themselves. And it might be, you know, that I go days or days or not quite a week yet without even seeing a person, you know, and that can really weigh on us, especially very social creatures like myself. To go further on that, in a 2017 report from the American Psychological Association, Turhan Canley wrote, "It might not come as a surprise that loneliness is associated with depression. A person who feels socially isolated may become depressed, and or a person who is depressed may shut themselves off from friends and family and thus increase the sense of social isolation. Loneliness also impacts cognition and has been shown in studies to predict cognitive decline and a risk for Alzheimer's disease. Loneliness can even affect our lifespan then." An article in the Harvard Business Review, the former Surgeon General, Dr. Murthy, associated this with other health risks. He wrote, "Loneliness and weak social connections are associated with a reduction in lifespan similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and even greater than that associated with chronic obesity." So think to yourself again, back to that first question, why am I here? It might be that you're intrigued by the idea of a secular humanist community in Kansas City. That might be a new thought to you, or if, you know, many of us have been around for a long time. But then again, maybe you're feeling loneliness during the pandemic, or maybe you're interested in the last item here, shared experiences, and you're looking for a group of like-minded individuals to build connections with. It could be, like for me, what Thomas wrote, like it is for me, what Thomas Wolfe wrote, which is, you can't go home again. You know, I don't have those past connections to go back to. So we're looking for a way forward. And all of those reasons that we've discussed so far are very valid reasons to explore finding or working to continue to build a meaningful community and to keep those connections with our community. I'm sorry, my nose has started running. So we have discussed some important points regarding the whys of community. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the hows. And this is all going to be quite familiar to you because you'll see these are things that we do here at KC Oasis if you've been around for a while. So 5 ways, the hows of building connections within our community and among individuals. So here's our first suggestion, share stories. Oh my gosh, anybody that has met me in person knows I love to tell a good story. And there's, I just saw you laugh, Clay. Not fair, you know how I am. Yeah, so you know that sharing of stories is as old as people have lived on this planet, right? There's a professor from K-State University, Mary Kay Zabel. She says, stories have been used for centuries to record important events, to transmit the spirit of an event or time period along with the facts, and to point out patterns in behavior and cultural development. So really, as humans, stories is how we build our lore, our traditions, but also more importantly, our connections. Once you have heard somebody's story, it's hard to look at them in the same way as before you heard their story, right? It gives you that real sense of, okay, this is who this person is, and this is what they want to tell me about themselves. It must be important. This is one of the, oh, I'm so sorry. This is one of the chief reasons why we have community moments, like the one we got to enjoy from Marge this morning, and others. What it's like to be married to a Cubs fan, Roger, right? How much we love Nicolas Cage. You know, I cannot bring up community moments without bringing that one up. It's part of our story as Kansas City Oasis that ranking top 10 Nicolas Cage films is important, but whatever we share, sometimes these community moments, folks, and I know you know this from the past, have been really heavy duty slices of people's lives that they've shared with us. And that's really brave, but it also really helps us connect when we share those real soul searching, deep stories. The lighthearted ones are fun and they give us a lot of joy, but you know, sometimes we need those real heavy ones to remind ourselves what all we've been through, and then maybe we have some room for even more empathy for each other. So again, a plug, even though Nikki's given one, If you have a community moment, something you'd like to share, again, it doesn't have to be heavy, but it's good to have those sometimes too. Let Mark Dixon know about that. So when we focus on sharing our stories, let's talk a little bit more about that individual story that each of us has. I don't know who else is a big fan of Hamilton, the musical, besides me. Yeah, several of us, right? This section, when I was writing it, it puts me in mind of the song from Hamilton, where he's talking, he's ending up towards the end of his life, and he says, when you die, who remembers your name? Who keeps your flame? Who tells your story? Because eventually it'll be someone else telling our story, right? Our time will have passed, and it'll be up to other people to continue our story. So I'm here to listen to your story, and I know that you're here to listen to mine sometimes, not all the time. I have a bad habit of that. But we tell each other our stories so that they'll outlive us when we're gone. The artist Banksy had this quote that says, they say you die twice, one time when you stop breathing, and a second time a bit later on when someone says your name for the last time. So our community, our lore, our tradition is sharing each other's stories and keeping each other's memories alive when we come to that part of our life. The next, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Next suggestion, focus on big talk. In a TED Talk presented by Kalina Silverman, she focused on this very topic. So let's talk a little bit about what is big talk. Small talk, we know what that is. How's the weather? How's the kids? How's your job? Nice dress, nice new facial hair that you're sporting there, Jay. This new look, I'm really liking it. However, small talk, it's important. We need to keep those connections going. And maybe when we first get to know people, that's all the more comfort level we have with interacting with them is the small talk. You need to know those things about them. You need to know what their name is, what their partner's name is, if they have children, potentially, what part of town they live in, how many pets do they have? Mine, the answer is 2. And that's all part of basic human interaction. But once we get those details out of the way, we need to move on to big talk. Big talk is really vital if you're trying to build a community and build those relationships. Big talk is described as universal, meaningful, and open-ended. And so this is not a yes or no question that we're asking people like, is it hot enough for you? I mean, it's not that. It's asking people the answers to questions that really matter and things, try and find out what they really care about. And it can be done with people we don't know very well. You can just be real brave and walk up to somebody and say, what is happening in your life that you're most excited about? Can you share that with me? And maybe more realistically right now, it's like at this difficult time that we're all going through, where and how do you find peace? What brings you comfort right now? Maybe that's something you can share. Or here's another one, kind of fits for right now. What in your life have you lost that you miss the most? What are you missing? And then I would say conversely to that, what have you gained during this pandemic and quarantine that you intend to continue on with? I mean, I'll tell you what, I will not sit once there's a vaccine, once, the social distancing and masks is a thing of the past, at least seasonally, I will not be home every day for probably 6 months because that's how much of my people energy I need to recharge. Anyway, so having this big talk and developing that vulnerability, which we'll talk a little bit more about, really can help us ease a sense of loneliness and isolation and can get us to that place where we feel like there are people that we can trust with our big ideas and our big emotions and our big feelings. And that's what, being part of a chosen family is about. Okay, this next one. Ooh, this could go either way. So challenge each other. And you'll note, as I said here on this really fantastic slide, this is not a competition, but an exhibition. And what do I mean by that? We're not trying to compete for them being wrong and us being right. When I say it's an exhibition, it is an exhibition of care for the person that we're engaging in conversation with. We want to take care when we challenge people's thinking But it is important sometimes to challenge people's thinking. We are not a homogenous group. We each come from different backgrounds, have gotten, to this community, to today even, by a variety of routes, none of them even close to the same. So we have these, we maybe even unconsciously, right? We've talked a lot about unconscious bias this year in the world in general. There might be something still hanging out in our subconscious that sometimes we don't recognize. It could be some old strongly held beliefs that just hang on. And even though we're trying to outgrow them, it might be that there's some we haven't put to the test. And without putting our ideas and our strongly entrenched sort of old beliefs to the test, we would never have changed them. We would never have evolved. So this is really challenging ourselves as well as challenging others to look at things from different perspectives. And don't be afraid if you have a different perspective of someone when you're having a conversation to share that, of course, in a respectful way, as we're talking about here. Pardon me. So to illustrate this, there's just a brief anecdote I'll give. I had a coworker once that came to work and she was crying, and I asked what was wrong with her, and she said that she found out that her daughter was dating someone of another race. So there's a couple ways I could have gone here. I could have, thought, wow, this person is racist, and I do not want to finish this conversation. Maybe I'm just gonna, wander off and not deal with this. But instead of that, I thought maybe I can just challenge her a little bit on what she's thinking here. So that's what I did. And another friend and I sort of discussed this amongst ourselves, and we both, thought that was the approach we should take. So we said to her, I guess we don't understand why you're so upset. Is this new relationship, is this partner unkind to your daughter? Has this person done something to make you distrust them? Why are you so upset? And so she had to stop and think for a minute, and she said, well, this is how my parents raised me. This is a small town that we were living in at the time. This is how my parents raised me. They don't believe in interracial dating. And even though it doesn't bother me so much, I'm afraid of what the girl's grandparents are going to say. And even though that was almost 15 years ago, it feels like another lifetime. And it even then seemed impossible that somebody would feel that way. That was her reality, right? That was where she was at. So I offered her a different perspective. If these other things aren't happening, then why should this thing? Why in any reason would race matter? And so now this girl and her boyfriend of 15 years, they're still together. They have a little boy, and even the older members, the last generation of the family, they're all get along great. Everything is fine. But sometimes it just takes just a minute to stop and say, have somebody explain to you why they think the way they do. But again, that points to thinking about people's intentions behind the things they say. Stephen Covey has a really good quote that I enjoy. It says, we judge others by their behaviors and ourselves by our intentions. So we might do some real rough stuff sometimes, right? And we are able to forgive ourselves because we know what our intention was. But when we think about other people, we're like, I didn't like what they said and I didn't like how they acted. So it's easy to write other people off. But we need to remember to judge other people, or not judge other people at all. But if you're going to judge them by what their intention likely was, and try to get to the base of that intention. So, like I mentioned before, when we're challenging other people's thinking, it's important to assign them that positive intent. One thing I said earlier about the Oasis Network, about our community, is we're not homogenous. We are all just here to gather around our 5 values that are based on compassion and reason. And that being said, we are never all going to agree on everything. And neither would we want to do that. There's no benefit in all of us being in lockstep. That's the sort of thing that we've come here to maybe get away from in our past, is having to be in a certain mindset all the time, right? That being said, we're more likely to have things in common than we're not. So when you're in your coffee break and you maybe are discussing featured speakers, there might be times that even our featured speakers, it might be me right now, that you're like, yeah, I don't really agree with that, Julie. And that's okay. That's fine. We're just here sharing information, sharing, hopefully inspirational things. But that's why we have question and answer. So you can ask those questions and you can say, could you explain that more fully? I don't really understand that. Or I read this that says that. What's your response to that? And to challenge what we hear. It's really key in all of this to try and cultivate that ability to disagree without being disagreeable. Let me say that one more time. Being able to disagree without being disagreeable, and to be able to argue your viewpoint without being argumentative just because you want to pick a fight, like Nikki said that she wanted to do this week. But I digress. So, we're not here to argue with each other just to for the sake of it, but we're really here to challenge our thinking and others. So with that, we'll move on to the next section, which is express joy. And I really feel like this is something that we do well as a community. When we're around our chosen family or community, we're frequently on the way, looking for ways to express joy. And when I talk about expressing joy, I'm not just saying, put on a happy face, everything's wonderful. I'm talking about sharing something with each other that really brings us joy. Maybe you saw a cute animal and you take its picture and you put it in the thread. Maybe the sunset looked great, or maybe you went on a bike ride or did something that really made you feel good that day. Please share that stuff with us. That's another way that we learn to connect with each other. A Huffington Post article on joy in everyday life offered these suggestions. Dress up in a costume for no reason. Lose yourself in a good book and share it. Or, as I put on the slide here, put your hands to work helping others. So even with social distancing, there's been ways that we've been able to reach out and help others in our community. And it just really can change your whole day, being able to do something for somebody else. I know for me personally, a lot of times, if I stay on the lookout for ways to put my hands to work helping others, it can change my whole attitude for the rest of the day. I have a sign that hangs in my house that says, do one thing every day that makes you happy. And it's something I live by. Even if it's just taking a walk around my yard and looking at something, and then now maybe the idea is to share that with somebody else, be on the lookout for ways to find happiness and joy, even though that's not, I understand, the easiest thing to do right now. So in our new reality, we're sharing all this stuff virtually, but we can really do what we can to make use of social media, texting, phone calls, like I mentioned before. I know that's so 2000 and late, but pick up the phone, call somebody. The last one we'll talk about is how our community engages in the Selfie Clan, our Oasis Faces on Facebook. I know there's days and I'm like, oh Lord, I don't really want to take my picture and put it up online, but let's do it anyway because I miss your faces. And anybody can start that thread any time that they're feeling like it. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a smiling face. Sometimes it's just making it through another day. Maybe it's, I didn't get out of bed today, but this pillow feels really good. Maybe that's the picture of the day. Or you're, coming up, maybe you're homeschooling with your kiddos, and maybe that's the picture of the day. It could be anything. There's no limit to that. But it's just nice to see your faces. It makes me feel good. So, and I'm sure that's the same for others. So along with expressing our joy, another great habit to adopt is taking the time to congratulate people for their accomplishments and celebrate their wins. So keep on the lookout for that when somebody, especially now, good news is harder to find. If we have something positive to share, something we can all celebrate with each other, that would be great. It's a great place here, even on Sunday, to share your life events, both joyful and difficult. So you can reach out to any board member. Hey, Harrison, we can reach out to any board member or the MCs and say, oh, hey, I have this coming up. I got a promotion at work. It's our anniversary. I am getting a year older. Hooray. All those things, we want to share them with you. And then even things that are more difficult. Someone is unwell. Someone has injured themselves. We've lost someone close to us. Those are all different things that we can, those life events that we're all a part of and that we're all here to share with each other. We can't really, there's no limit to that. And there's no limit to the difference it makes in building our community. Okay, be vulnerable. Woo, this is my favorite one. It didn't used to be my favorite one, but I have learned to appreciate it. This might be maybe the most challenging of the suggestions, but it's really worth it. When we think about being vulnerable, we might think of the the dictionary definition of vulnerable, which is being susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. However, in our new, modern, forward-thinking world, there are new ideas and definitions of vulnerability. So who here has heard and or read anything from Brené Brown? Right? Brené Brown. She's really challenged us. In her book, Daring Greatly, she talks about the benefits of being vulnerable and kind of gives it a new definition. She describes it as the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. And part of community building is a space where we can be our authentic selves. And this may be something that we have worked our whole lives to avoid, is showing people who we really are. Maybe we were trained, like I was, to, you know, always be what I needed to be and what I needed to look like. When I left the religion I was born into, it was something that weighed on me really heavily. In fact, I had been convinced that there was nowhere else in the world besides with them where I could ever feel at ease, that everybody else I met would have ulterior motives, was out to get me in one way or another, and that I needed to always have my guard up and never be myself around certain people. So after leaving the group, I worked hard to build a new persona of absolute self-sufficiency. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I didn't need that. And I don't need anything else now. And asking for help, I felt like was showing weakness. And if the religion didn't want me anymore, I was going to make it on my own and I didn't need anybody. And let me tell you, it was exhausting. It was exhausting to be that person and to try to carry the weight of the world by myself without any help from anyone. And so I'm grateful that my path in life since then has shown me that being perfect won't keep me safe. And showing my perceived weaknesses won't, doesn't take away from the courage that it shows to do that. It's so much easier to let people in than to keep people out. And the more we can accept ourselves when we feel fragile and we feel weak, and be open to sharing our thoughts and feelings with our community and our friends that we've made here, the more opportunities we have to feel the love and belonging that we're here to offer each other. If you're like me and struggle with asking for help when you need it, try to recall how you feel when you're helping others and allow your friends to enjoy that same feeling by giving you a helping hand. And so finally, on the subject of vulnerability, I want to talk a little bit about fear. Another challenge I faced when I first started coming here to Oasis was fear. There were two fears I had, in fact. The first one was fear of what would be expected of me if I decided to become a part of this community and started attending regularly. And the second part was fear of being part of a community just to lose it again for some reason. You know, for people to tell me, yeah, you don't really fit here, so we don't really want you here. I feel like both of those were valid fears based on where I came from and how I got here in the first place. But I have learned in the last 4 years that this is not the sort of community I grew up with. This is, in fact, probably the polar opposite of what I grew up with. We are welcome here every Sunday online in our breakout groups, in our community groups, at our morning coffee breaks, or our morning, coffee talks that are over Zoom. And in the future, we'll be welcomed at our new meeting place, TBD, whatever that will be. Anytime that we are wanting to partake of that sense of community, it's here for us. But there is no obligation to do so. If people haven't seen us for months, maybe it's now been years since we've been around or will be, we're welcome back every time. There is no sense of obligation. It's just a sense of here, how do they, another way that home is described in a quote is, home is, if you need to go there, they have to take you in. Not exactly. As long as you support our 5 core values, though, we're here for you. Okay. Woo, I got away from myself. I think I've been talking a really long time. All right. So with that, I just want to say I really appreciate being part of this community. It has changed my life in ways that I'd never imagined a few years ago. And it's given me really a chance to, I hope, share myself and the gifts that I have with you and with our community. And I really appreciate you allowing me to speak on the importance of building a meaningful community. Sort of where I got the idea for this presentation was from Inc. magazine online that talked about, Mickey Agarwal had an article talking about community is everything. That's sort of where the basis of this came from. So, all right. I can't imagine there's any questions. I have talked way too much.
I have solicited for questions multiple times, but just to give people a second to maybe they're processing it,
Yeah.
I will have a short conversation with you.
Oh,
Well, first off, Julie, thank you so much for that presentation.
sure.
I feel like it's been probably what 6-7 months now since we've been able to meet in person. Some ridiculous number, right? Like time doesn't.
I think it's 5. I think it's 5, but it feels like longer.
It could be like 3 years. Who knows? So with that, anyways, or whatever, side tangent. I guess I just want to bring this up with you of when we are having those discussions, instead of being disagreeable and being able to disagree. I think it's very important to realize or understand that Oasis is meant to be a space for equality and equity. So when you are having those conversations with people and you are disagreeing and challenging others about their beliefs or opinions or what have you, that we need to recognize that not everybody has the same life experiences. Not everybody has had the same traumas or struggles or opportunities for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important when we are having those conversations to think about those things, right, instead of just be like, well, X, Y, like I believe X, Y, and Z, and like what you're saying is making no sense. It's like, okay, well, why is it not making sense to you? Like dig a little bit deeper. And so I really appreciate you bringing up that instead of just writing somebody off, to have that conversation with equity in mind.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I would have to say that was, when I was talking about that conversation with the coworker, I was in a place where I was really having to examine my past and why I believe the things that I did. So right then, I think right then, especially, I was on a real path of discovery because I had no personal identity outside of the religion that I was raised in. So I was questioning everything. And I think that's what made me be willing to do that, because because in truth, I didn't understand. When she first said it to me, I was like, I don't understand, I don't understand. And so, so I think that's really important. Like maybe that isn't a piece of their thinking or their thought process that they've ever looked into or challenged based on, the road that they got, where you both came to this very moment that you're in, right? So again, what's their intent? I'm sure for the most part that people don't intend to say things that are either offensive or, there's some growth that can be gained, right? So I think it's a good idea to just be like, maybe I don't understand is the right way to start. I just don't understand your perspective. Can you share with me, why it is you feel this way?
Yeah, absolutely. And also just going off of that, don't wait for your turn to speak. Actually listen when the other person is speaking to you. So don't just be in your head thinking, well, this is my rebuttal to this conversation. Mm-hmm. Especially like, since we are virtual right now, we all have the time in the world to do a little bit research before we join into a conversation or a debate that's happening. So just stop and think. Don't just be waiting for the next opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
Actually process what's going on.
Yeah, active listening is a real important skill that I think it takes some time to build, because I think that's just a lot of people's first tendency is just like, okay, yeah, get on with whatever you're saying because I have a thing. Humans are egocentric. What can I say?
That's just it's just humans, and
it's human nature. But you're not ever going to really if your goal is to really get to know someone and how they really think and feel about something, with your mouth open is not how that occurs.
Unless you're a mouth breather and like you have sinus problems. So that's the only acceptable manner.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. My nose is running, but.
Well, thank you so much, Julie.
Certainly.
If anybody has questions for Julie, she is super. See, now I'm just I'm just saying stuff so you can tell me no, that's wrong. Julie is super open to questions and interaction. So if you have her on Facebook, have her number, or even her email address, which you can find on kcoasis.org. I'm more than willing to bet she would be welcome to answer those questions and have those conversations with you. Or as Jason's saying, call her, or if that's Amy, it could be Amy because it's Jason and Amy. So
I better get an email. I better get a phone call from Jason and Amy today. That's all I got to say about that.
I hope it's just their bird calling you, actually.
Oh, that would be fun. Bird calls.
Yeah. So with further ado, we're kind of winding down here. So thank you again so much, Julie. Before I reintroduce Jamie and end us for today, end the program, not end us, that's ominous. I just want to take a moment, do my pitch that Oasis is a 501c3. So we run on y'all's generous donations. And as of right now, those donations aren't going towards a building, but they are going into getting us paying for speaker fees, paying for musicians, all that fun jazz. So if you are a monthly donor, thank you so much for continuing your contributions to Kansas City Oasis. But if you would like to donate, do a one-time donation, you can find us at kcoasis.org and go up to that donate button and type in a couple numbers, or whatever, just pass along the information to somebody else who can donate, and throw us a couple bucks. Or you can text us at 816-839-7656, and I will put that in the chat right now. So without further ado, I will welcome Jamie back up for one last song before I close us out for the day. Jamie, take it away.
Once again, thank you all for letting me join you this morning. It's been more than a pleasure. I'm going to take us out with a song by a band called The Band. And sometimes we all just need to take a load off. So this is a song called Wait. I pulled in Nazareth, was feeling about half past it. Just need to find a place where I can lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? looking for a place to hide. When I start coming and the devil standing by my side, I said, hey, Carmen, come on, let's go downtown. She said, I gotta go, but my friend can't stick around. Take a load off Annie, take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. Yeah, you put the load right on me. Put the load right on me. Put the load right on me. You put the load right on me. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you, Marge, and thank you, Julie, for the wonderful program today. So that's it for this Sunday morning. Thank you, everybody, again for joining us, or thanks for joining for the first time. We hope to see you next week for another program. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.